The snowstorm howled through the night, the wind biting and relentless, rattling the windows of the cabin as if the storm itself sought refuge. Inside, the fire crackled merrily, casting warm, flickering light over the rustic interior. I had just settled in for the night, a cup of tea in hand, when a strange sound cut through the roar of the storm. A soft whimper, almost imperceptible, but unmistakably there. My heart raced. Could it be the wind playing tricks on me? Or was there something else? I set my cup down with a quiet clink, the warmth fading as I moved cautiously toward the door. Another whimper, louder this time, followed by a scraping sound. With a nervous breath, I opened the door slowly, squinting into the darkness. The snow swirled in the air, but as my eyes adjusted, I saw them. 2 dogs, one small, shivering and frail, the other a massive German shepherd, his weathered coat matted and worn. They stood on the porch, the younger one trembling and weak, the older one stoic, his eyes full of silent suffering and a quiet strength. Without hesitation, I stepped outside, crouching down to their level. "Hey there. It's okay," I whispered gently, extending my hand. The smaller dog flinched, pulling away, but the older shepherd nudged it, as if urging it to trust me. "Come on, let's get you inside," I said softly, coaxing them toward the warmth of the cabin. As the door closed behind us, I rushed to stoke the fire. The dogs collapsed by the hearth, the younger one curling close to the older, finding comfort in his presence. My mind raced. Where had they come from? What had they endured? But in that moment, they were safe. I warmed the last of the broth I had made, offering it to the younger dog who drank it eagerly. The older shepherd stayed by his side, nuzzling him gently, as though offering a silent promise of protection. The bond between them was undeniable, a bond forged in hardship, in silence, but filled with unwavering loyalty. As the night dragged on, the storm finally began to ease, and the first pale light of dawn filtered through the window. The snow-covered forest outside appeared serene, untouched, but a gnawing sense of unease lingered in my gut. These dogs hadn't just appeared at my doorstep by chance. They had come for a reason. I pulled on my coat and boots, determined to uncover the truth. The cold air nipped at my skin as I stepped outside, the snow crunching underfoot. My eyes scanned the surrounding woods for any signs of movement. It didn't take long to find what I was looking for. 2 sets of paw prints leading from the forest toward my porch. But there was something else. Human tracks, unmistakable, large, and unmistakably fresh. Someone had been with these dogs. But why had they left them? I followed the tracks, my heart pounding as I ventured deeper into the forest. The trees loomed overhead, silent sentinels standing guard in the snow. The human tracks were erratic, as though their owner had been wandering aimlessly, lost, confused. The deeper I went, the more unnerving the silence became, until I reached a small clearing. The tracks stopped abruptly, the ground disturbed as if there had been a struggle. My pulse quickened as I scanned the area, my mind racing. Then something caught my eye, a frayed leash half buried in the snow. My stomach lurched at the thought. Had they been tied up here? Trapped? My eyes darted to the woods, my thoughts swirling with dark possibilities. Before I could think further, a low growl behind me snapped me from my thoughts. I spun around, my heart leaping into my throat, and there he was, Titan, the German shepherd, standing tall and watchful, his eyes sharp and alert. "Good boy," I whispered, the tension in my chest easing. Titan barked sharply, his gaze darting toward the deeper woods, urging me to follow. His instincts were clear. Something was out there, and I needed to know what. With Titan leading the way, we plunged deeper into the forest. The trees grew denser, the air colder, but I pressed on. Soon, we came upon a dilapidated shack, its roof sagging under the weight of the snow. A chill crawled up my spine as I took in the sight. Titan stopped at the threshold, his body tense, his eyes fixed on the shack. I moved forward, my hand gripping the cold metal handle. I pushed the door open, the creak echoing through the stillness. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of damp wood and something more sinister. Cages. 4 of them, lined up against the far wall, the remnants of their former occupants, matted fur, torn blankets, and empty food bowls scattered across the floor. This wasn't just a shed. It had been a prison. My eyes landed on the shepherd, who stood just inside the doorway, his eyes full of unspoken pain. This was their past. I moved closer to the cages, my hands trembling as I inspected them. The bars were bent, the locks broken and rusted. It was clear they had fought to escape. As I turned to leave, a small notebook caught my eye, lying on a makeshift table. My hands shook as I picked it up. The leather cover was cracked, the pages yellowed with age. I flipped it open, scanning the hastily scrawled notes. Most of it was mundane, but one entry stood out. Subject number 12. Male German Shepherd. Strong, obedient, high resale value. My stomach twisted in revulsion. These dogs hadn't just been abandoned, they had been part of a vile operation exploited for profit. Rage burned through me as I slammed the notebook shut. Titan let out a low growl, his body rigid, as he stared toward the trees. I turned, and through the thinning trees I saw a figure moving, slow, deliberate, watching us. Titan barked sharply, his muscles tense. I stepped back, ready for whatever was to come. The figure emerged from the trees, a man in his late 40s, his face hard and weathered, his eyes narrowing as they fell on the notebook in my hand. "That doesn't belong to you," he growled, his voice rough with menace. I held my ground, the notebook clenched tightly in my hands. "These dogs don't belong to you," I shot back. The man's eyes flickered with unease. "You don't know what you're dealing with," he hissed. "They were property, nothing more." "Living beings," I retorted, my voice shaking with anger. "You've treated them like things, but they've shown me more loyalty and heart than you ever will." He took a step forward, but before he could do anything else, Titan lunged, snarling, his powerful form a blur of motion. The man stumbled back, clearly not expecting the dog's ferocity. "Enough!" the man shouted, his voice cracking with fear. I stepped forward, my voice cold and firm. "You'll pay for what you've done," I vowed. "I'll make sure of it." The man glanced toward the forest, clearly weighing his chances. Then, without another word, he turned and bolted into the woods, disappearing into the snow-covered darkness. Titan chased him for a few steps before stopping, watching the man vanish from sight. I knelt beside Titan, wrapping my arms around his neck. "Good boy," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "You're incredible." Back at the cabin, I called the authorities, telling them everything I had discovered. They promised an investigation. As they left, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. The bond between Titan and the younger dog only grew stronger with each passing day. I named the younger dog Scout for his bravery, his unwavering trust in Titan. As for the man, I never saw him again, but the scars he left on those dogs and the loyalty they showed me would stay with me forever. Titan, my hero, had taught me a valuable lesson. Loyalty and love don't need words. Sometimes they are shown in the way a dog protects you, stands by you, and reminds you that even in the darkest of times, there is still hope.